Hello, welcome back. My name is Ayla. This is my series of short films that are analyzing pieces of environmental media to distinguish whether or not they are effective at spreading awareness and what strategies they use/could use to improve. This is video number 4 that focuses specifically on news articles and live news. I've seen many news articles that I think are very good at spreading awareness on this topic. They're factual and persuasive and effective. I've also seen a lot of live news that is very dramatized in order to get more viewers, which unfortunately scares people away from this cause, as it makes it seem impossible to make any sort of impact. This is not to say that there are not bad news articles or good pieces of live news regarding this topic, because there most definitely are. All of this to say that I'm going to use a news article for our good example and a piece of live news for our bad example to compare the two. For the good example, we will look at an article from Quanta magazine that is called "A Soil Science Revolution Upends Plans to Fight Climate Change." This article explains a new scientific finding on soil and climate systems. It breaks down complex ecological research like carbon storage, agriculture, soil depletion, and biodiversity, so that the readers can understand how these processes work and how they affect the climate. It shows experts' insights and real scientific studies rather than relying on the dramatic language or emotional fear tactics that news usually do. This type of journalism encourages readers to think critically about environmental change, and it helps them understand why soil health matters so much to agriculture, carbon emissions, and long-term sustainability. By doing this, it supports environmental awareness in a deeper and more meaningful way. For the bad example, we are looking at some pieces of live news that were very ineffective at getting people interested and likely scared them away from this topic. I found these from another article specifically on bad climate coverage in the news. So one example comes from a live news broadcast that covered drought-related groundwater shortages, and it fails to link these consequences to climate change at all. So while the report discussed home damage, dying crops, and water shortages, it did not avoid the larger scientific cause behind these events. They left out the role of climate change, and that makes environmental issues appear to be like random, unavoidable, or temporarily, rather than like connecting to the long-term human influence that has created all of these events to happen. So when news reporting lacks content, viewers walk away with surface-level knowledge and as little understanding of how their choices or policies affect the environmental outcomes. As a result, instead of inspiring awareness or action, this type of coverage leads to confusion or even denial, making it ineffective environmental media. Okay, so for analysis of these, as I said in the beginning, there are a lot of news articles and live news on this topic because obviously natural disasters are happening a lot recently and the news covers big events happening. But usually in the news, the live news, they use a lot of the fear-based tactics to get people's attention with the headlines and everything. So since it's also live news and they're like speaking, they leave out a lot of facts and they just say, oh, look at this, look at these videos and this is so catastrophic, but they don't say here's scientific information, because people who are watching the news aren't interested in hearing a bunch of facts, honestly. They probably are, but like people who write the news are like, let me not fill this with like all of these statistics. People are gonna get bored, they're not gonna watch our news. So that's kind of why live news is usually a lot of fear, a lot of like, whoa, action, this is all the stuff that's happening, isn't that crazy, period, end of story. Like all these people are affected, not why this is caused. But articles usually have a lot of facts in them. Usually I feel like since it's like written, they include a lot of graphs and statistic type of things, and it's not like, okay, immediate news, we're doing it live. It's like, okay, we've taken some time to write this, include facts, make sure everything's real and truthful. So generally that's why I think that the articles are more reliable than live news. So these are just some examples, but obviously there are a lot, especially for news, because it's like happening all the time. And there's a lot of environmental things happening right now. So the news is constantly covering it. But yeah, that is video number 4 about news and how it affects environmental awareness and everything. So come back for video number 5, conclusion, wrap up the series. Yeah.